Hi friends, welcome back to Spirit School. Welcome back to Technique Week. I hope you enjoyed yesterday's technique and I hope that you enjoy this one as well. Take your notes, try it on for size, take what resonates, leave the rest behind. Never forget to have fun on your path and try to find joy. And if you just need this reminder at this moment to lighten up and have some fun around the exploration and the unfoldment of your abilities.
Hello, Spirit School Collective. Here is your technique of the week. This is the zoom out technique. How this came to life in my awareness was there was a season. I found that spirit really works through clusters. So I will have, just say as an example, somebody pass of a car accident, 8 out of 10 readings are going to be car accidents after that. It's just how spirit trains us. Things happen in clusters. So I found myself in a cluster of learning where I would continue to bring through what I thought was a spirit communicator. And my sitter would say, oh, that sounds like my dad, but he's still alive. Or I would be describing this woman and I would feel very much grandmother speaking to me, and my client would be like, oh no, that's my grandmother, but she's still alive. And then I started getting really annoyed. How am I 3.5, almost 4 years into my mediumship development journey, and I can't even tell living from the dead? Well, the truth of the matter is that is difficult for so many of us, especially sentient beings, because the truth is when we look at vibrations on a grand scheme of things, the living actually feel the most dead, which is kind of funny. The dead actually feel more alive than us, but they're like a notch up. And then when you connect with angels or ascended masters or higher vibrational beings, it is such a drastic vibrational difference that it actually does become a little bit harder to discern living from the dead. Now, that is not everyone's experience, but this was my experience. So it was because of all my frustrations of trying to understand if this person was living or dead that I kind of created this zoom out technique. So what would happen is I would be in a sitting, I would be describing this gentleman who was coming in, and then my sitter would be like, yep, that's dad, but he is still alive. So I would say, okay, my intention is mediumship. So I am going to zoom out and see who is showing this to me. So all of a sudden I would do this technique. I would have my eyes closed and I would literally visually zoom out. So I was seeing dad as if dad was spirit, but I went a whole layer back and it's kind of like this up and out, and I would zoom out. And then all of a sudden I would be looking down at dad and I would become aware of the presence of a woman that felt like his mom. And so that's how I was able to get to who was showing me this mediumistic information. Now there's two ways you can go about this. You could, and I have tried this as well. It doesn't feel as accurate for me, but maybe you were trying to pick up things psychically. Maybe the connection was actually meant to be psychic. So this technique is for those who are very sure that they are working mediumistically at this time. So I would zoom out and I would use that technique to figure out who was trying to communicate this with me, because the evidence was right. The people were able to understand that is dad. Well, someone in spirit is showing this to me. So that's how I learned that zoom out technique. Where I shared last week around the technique of going to spirit to ask how you did in your session. This was actually a very healing technique for me on self-esteem when it came to my spiritual practice. So I used the zoom out technique to connect with angels and to see myself through their eyes. If you listen to my body of work, if you get to be in close contact with me, you'll probably find out pretty fast that I'm very hard on myself. And as somebody who has had to essentially raise themselves, I never really had a champion or a cheerleader or a mentor who would hype me up. So my life has been one of hyping myself up. And so I would have a hard time with that in the spiritual path because that was also new to me. I was not confident. I did not have the self-esteem I have today 10 years in. I was actually pretty beat down and I was really hard on myself. Now, again, that's not everybody's experience, but that was my experience. And you get a little bit tired of being hard on yourself, to be honest with you. So I started using this zoom out technique to allow myself to see myself in the loving eyes of the angels. So I'd close my eyes and I would accept I'm being hard on myself right now. I am not able to see myself very clearly. And it came up for me because I would have you, students and clients, reach out to me and tell me how magnificent I am. And I love that. But it was so hard to even believe it because I just didn't feel that about myself in all truth and honesty. So I would close my eyes and I would tune into my heart and I would accept the fact that I am not able to see myself in my highest potential, in my most vibrant of being. And so I would, through the breath, call in the angels and say, thank you, angels, for allowing me to see myself through your eyes, through the loving eyes of the heavens. And I would spend some time in this space looking down on myself through the lens and through that angle of the heavens. And all of a sudden I would be filled with love and confidence and assurity. And it was just a really beautiful technique. So open your eyes now in case you close your eyes with me. But yeah, this zoom out technique you can use in every area. Even this technique that originally started trying to discern the difference between the dead and the living. That's how this technique even started. Actually helps me in my marital disputes. So, me and my husband right now are kind of arguing about our trip next year. And so when I'm able to zoom out the perspective, allow me to see this from a bigger perspective, maybe including his perspective, I was able to see why driving to California instead of flying would be so important to him. I could see how come that would be so important to him. And I started to be able to zoom out and be like, yeah, those are the memories he had with his family growing up. And thanks to that zoom out technique, it has really allowed me a whole nother level of peacekeeping, and a way to move out of that really stagnant energy. Because when we're unsure of things, especially in a session setting, our aura will really close up and close in on us. And so this is a good way to expand and move that energy as well. So curious to see how you will apply the zoom out technique in your own practice. See if there's an opportunity that comes up for you this week, whether it's in your personal life or your private sitting or your practice sitting, and let me know how this technique supports you. Have a good week, friends.